Hello and welcome to part 14 of my reviews of the Marvel Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection. I'm sorry it's been so long since I last did one. It's just been every time I kind of set time aside to film this, something always came up. So I'm hoping to start catching up on these. I've read these two, the next two, which I will review hopefully next week, and I'm commenting on the next two after that. So hopefully the next 3 weeks we'll have 3 reviews to start helping us catch up, because I'm really behind. So today we have got Fantastic Four Unthinkable, and we have got Thor the Last Viking for review. So without further ado, let's get into our first review. So first up today we have Fantastic Four Unthinkable, written by Mark Waid. This was released as issue 37, but when you turn the book onto its side, it is issue number 30. And that's how it goes to make your big picture. It's number 30. This was a book I hadn't read. It was a part of Fantastic Four that I'd missed. So I was really interested to reading it because it was an era of Fantastic Four that I'd missed, but also because I've really been enjoying Mark Waid's Daredevil over the past few years. So I was really intrigued to see some of his earlier writings and to see, you know, what that was like. The basic premise of the story, it kind of sets up basically Doctor Doom has always been a long time villain for the Fantastic Four, and he's always tried to go after them using science. And in this story he kind of embraces his heritage and uses magic, and he uses this in devastating effect to take out the Fantastic Four. And Reed Richards, while he's usually one of the most intelligent men on the planet, always knows how to get out of stuff, he knows nothing about magic, and he's like kind of suddenly not the smartest guy in the room anymore. And can he kind of turn things around and save his family? I really enjoyed the story. Doctor Doom is a fantastic villain, and the first issue is just all Doctor Doom, but you don't even mind because it's so interesting really getting into who Doctor Doom was and bringing him full circle to sort of really set up the rest of the story. So I really like Doctor Doom as a villain, and he's at his evil best here. I really like the directions the characters are pushed in this issue. We get to see a whole different side of Reed, as he doesn't have the answers, and he gets really frustrated and angry because he just doesn't know how to win this battle, to win this fight, because magic is something that just eludes logic. I really like also in this one we get to see Franklin go through some really bad things, and I liked how at the end of the book the story kind of finishes a bit early, but we have about 2 issues where we deal with the fallout, and because there is a lot of fallout to this. And I really like how characters like the Human Torch and Thing really step up and have to help the others get kind of over what's happened. I also really like the fact that I've always wondered about Valeria, and I thought that was always a name more that Doctor Doom would have named her with, and why did Reed and Sue name her that? And this issue kind of explains all of that, so I really like that they did that as well. I thought that was really good. All in all, I thought this was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. The art is very much of the 90s, and I don't mean that, it might sound like a put down, but it is. You can tell the era that it came from, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is, you can tell from the art. And all in all, I did like the art. I thought the art done its job well. And yeah, this was a story that I hadn't read before, but I really enjoyed. So yeah, as always, we have our book hardcover. Inside, I don't know how well you can see this, you have some art on the inside cover from inside the comic. We then have our story there, Unthinkable, that's our inner cover. Beyond that, we have the people who put this book together on the next page there. We then open up where we have our introduction, as always, from Marco Lupo, and then we have our story so far, which I love those bits. I think they do a really good job in letting you know what you need to know. Then it tells you what issue it is, and we have our original cover, and then you know it goes into the story. And you know, like I say, I thought the art was good here. Like I say, it does feel very much of the 90s, and there's some good twists and turns through the story, and that I liked. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed this one. I hadn't really seen this artist before, but yeah, I enjoyed this one. There was some some nice pieces. There's a particular picture I kind of want to find, but knowing my luck, I'm not. Oh, here it is. This I really like this double page spread. When he catches the Fantastic Four, you know, he does all horrible things to them, but with Reed, he locks him in a room full of books on magic, and Reed, you know, because he knows Reed can't do nothing. I like the end, that it did feel like they're going to be lasting kind of consequences for this story, and I like that. We have then our variant cover. There we have a nice piece there with Mark Waid talking about the story, which I really liked. That was really cool. And then a nice little thing about the artist, Mike Wernigo, which I like that, because like I say, he was an artist I never really knew much about. And a really cool thing here with the Fantastic Four family tree. We then have a nice little gallery, and then an even really cool thing with the origin of Doctor Doom, which is so there's some really nice backup pieces in here at the end of the book when you've read it, and then of course we have our further reading. So yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed this one. It was a Fantastic Four story I'd not read before, but it was one that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I would give Fantastic Four Unthinkable 5 stars. Well, next review is for The Last Viking. This was released as issue 38 of the Marvel Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection. This on its spine, however, it says number 5, so that's how it clicks into your rest of your books. This was a book I was looking forward to, because everybody always says like the best 4 stories were Walt Simonson, and that he's the guy that everybody kind of thinks of when they think of Thor. And so I was really looking forward to this, because I like Thor, and I want to know more about his history. So I was looking forward to reading this one. The basic story introduces this character called Beta Ray Bill, who he's protecting his race of people as their ship is kind of flying through space, and he counters Thor, and he ends up with Mjolnir, and which leads to a really interesting story and really introduces his character. And I never really knew much about Beta Ray Bill, and I was really pleased that this book dealt with his origin, because he was always a character I wanted to know a bit more about. The end of the story then we features the Last Viking, as Thor finds the Last Viking and enlists his help to fight this big massive dragon called Favir. I think it's called Favir. I don't quite know how to pronounce his name. The whole thing with the name Last Viking, it's only really the last 3 issues that deal with the Last Viking story. The rest of it, as I say, is the Beta Ray Bill. And I think as a collection they could have come up with a better name for it, but that's probably nitpicking. The art I liked. Interesting thing they do here is that they have the original art, but they colorize it in the modern way, which really gives it a contemporary feel, and it looks a lot like if you picked up the Walt Simonson issues of Indestructible Hulk, they look a lot like that. You know, his art hasn't really changed that much, and you know, with the contemporary colouring, it does give it a very contemporary feel, which I felt was a problem when reading it, because reading it was written in the 80s, so it reads very much as like an 80s comic. But then because it looks contemporary, for me there was that little bit of disconnect where my brain didn't quite connect with the story, because it was old style writing but new style art, because you're looking at it, it's been coloured modern. So I would have liked to have read this in it to just see if I would have reacted differently to it, because the story itself was good and I enjoyed it, but I just did at times there was just that disconnect for me, because I'm reading it but it's looking another way than I'm reading it. So yeah, I did like the character of Beta Ray Bill. Thought he was really introduced really well, and I really liked his character, and I'm glad his part of the story had a happy ending. I think the one problem is this, because it's an 80s story. Nowadays people, they write the books, they know they're going to be a graphic novel, so you get pretty much a self-contained story. With this, there were parts of the plot that we never get to see resolved. There's this whole one character called Laurie, who's got a crush on Thor. We never see how her story finishes, because she's used by Loki in the beginning to kind of cause trouble for Thor, but we never get to see that story finished. We have Balder the Brave and Carnilla, Queen of the Norns, and we never get to see how that story finishes up. So there's a couple of plot threads that don't get picked up, just because the way comics were written then, things continued month to month. They didn't think about putting it together as a trade. So because of that, there are a couple of things you kind of wonder, well, what happened here and what happened there. All in all, though, I did enjoy this. I think my expectations were really high, and it didn't quite meet those expectations, though I still had a good time with it. As always with the books, we have, you know, our hardcover. Inside, I don't know how well you can see, but you have some of the internal comic art there. We then have our inside cover for The Last Viking. And then here we have who put it all together, who was involved in making the book. We have our introduction and our story so far. And then each cover is reprinted, and then you have the internal art, which I did like the internal art, and I thought it was really cool how they did do it, colour it contemporary, and it made it look bang up to date. So yeah, it does look really contemporary, and it looks in really good nick, the art does. So yeah, we then have at the end of a book, as always, we have a nice little bit with about the writer, Walt Simonson, telling you a bit about him. We then have like our cover variants, which I didn't think they had variants in them days. And then we had our sketches there from Walt Simonson of all the different characters that he done for this book. And we have at the end, we have further reading. One bit that I forgot, there's this like, because this kind of explains why he doesn't use the double identity of Donald Blake anymore, and why that kind of went away, and so he has to get a new secret identity. And there's this really funny bit when another character from another comic book company kind of turns up in this book, as his whole secret identity is to wear glasses, which gives you a clue who pops up. And I thought that was a really funny moment, and a moment I didn't expect, so that was cool. All in all though, yeah, I enjoyed it. Didn't quite hit the heights I was hoping it was going to hit, and it would be for The Last Viking, 4 stars. So that's my next 2 reviews done. I hope they were worth the wait. I will be back next week with my next 2 reviews, as I review Civil War and Marvel Super Heroes Secret War Part 2. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jason. This has been part 14 of my reviews of the Marvel Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection. Bye for now.